Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 6 of Live Well and Educate.
And glad to see you all back here at our new location for our podcast and our videos. So hopefully it's a little bit more pleasing on your eyes when you're watching on YouTube. So if you are watching, please give us a like, a follow, and a review and a comment. We appreciate that. Help us grow the channel.
Yeah, it's a little different. We got a ring light to help with the lighting on our faces. Sitting on a couch, different angle. We have to wear pants now.
Well, I always wore pants, but
Yep.
you didn't. But yeah.
I wore pants. They just weren't matching. They just didn't match what was on top.
Yeah. Maybe they were shorts that had paint stains all over them, but
You'll never
who
know.
knows?
I also don't know what to do with this pillow, but
Perfect.
All right.
That's a good
It
spot
works.
for it.
yeah, so thanks for tuning in. I have to say, speaking of tuning in, I was talking to my mom the other day, and she just got done telling me that she just finished watching our YouTube video and listening to all of our podcasts, and the first thing she said was, "Phil does such a great job."
Just me.
Just Phil. Which I know, Mom, you didn't mean anything by it. I thought it was hilarious.
I did too.
Yeah.
I still do.
And you do a great job.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty funny. I actually shared it at a presentation I did downstate. Do you mind if I tell a little story about that presentation?
Send it. Go for it.
So I thought today's episode could be kind of like going back to the basics on why we're doing the podcast. And kind of, I think that maybe there's some people that doubt the reason behind it, or doubt maybe the experiences educators have.
I mean, I think a lot of people doubt the challenges that educators have on a day-to-day basis. Like, oh, what's the 3 reasons to become a teacher? June, July, August.
Yeah.
Which they are pretty awesome. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot more to it.
A lot more to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think, like we've talked about a ton of times, like unless you experience it, you really don't know. And so we thought maybe this episode could be more like educating why we're doing it.
Right.
And why we think this could be helpful to other educators.
Yeah, it's not only experiencing it, it's experiencing it and caring about what you do, right? And we were talking before we started recording here, like people don't get into education for just any old reason. People get into education because they care and they want to make a difference.
Right, absolutely.
Like, and that's like when people try to make a difference and they realize that they can only do so much, that's sometimes what burns them out and makes it really challenging.
Absolutely, yeah. As in a lot of helping professions. So we realize it's not just education. And going back to the story I was going to tell, I was presenting at a conference where the majority, I don't know what percentage, but the majority of the people in attendance were former nurses or people in the medical profession who turned teachers, which is super cool. So they wanted to pass along their expertise and their experience and their knowledge to high schoolers who want to go into the medical field. One of my very best friends is one. She was a nurse in a former life, and now she's a high school teacher and is loving it. But in the middle of my presentation, someone raised their hand and said, I was a nurse during COVID, and after COVID, I was so traumatized that I left and went into education as a break. And so if you want to talk about burnout, that's burnout. I experienced burnout in the medical field, not in education. And I was kind of taken aback and like got all sweaty because I don't like confrontation.
So she challenged you.
She challenged me.
You call that burnout? Like, come on, lady, this isn't burnout.
Yeah, exactly. And it took me a second, which, is good. I guess it's a good learning experience. But at the time I was like, oh shit, like I should just cry and run out of the room. Like it was really nerve-wracking, not a little. Anyway, I ended up just saying burnout is relative, right? Like you burn out based on the experiences you have and the environment you're in. I can't even fathom what those nurses experienced during COVID. Can't even fathom. But then I know there are teachers and educators who can't fathom some of the things that we've seen and experienced. Or not even educators, anyone, the things that we've seen and experienced. So I think it's all relative.
It's all relative, right? I mean, and people burn out in all professions, right? No matter what it is, they do it. They try doing their best. Whether it's they work themselves to the bone where they can't stop, they can't turn their brain off, they can't sleep, they're not present at home, like they're losing their marriage, they're losing their kids, or they don't have any support from their leadership, or the team that they're working with is terrible and their colleagues are awful, and they're just like, there's countless reasons why people burn out. And I think by us talking about educators burning out doesn't minimize the fact that you can burn out in any profession. I think that like us trying to talk about educators and us talking about educators burning out is just shedding some light on a real issue that is happening here in America and probably around the world.
Right. I mean, yeah, I think around the world for sure. In America, almost 60% of teachers experience feelings of burnout. I think that's a lot.
There's a lot.
That's a lot of teachers. Yeah.
It's a lot for a profession that's thought of as being a noble profession, or like we said earlier, people go into it because they want to help. They want to make a difference.
Right.
And then you realize at some point, there's only so much that you can do. And feeling helpless, not being able to accomplish all your goals, it can really get to you.
Yeah. Have you ever felt burnt out?
Yeah, I have. It was not necessarily for those reasons, like I couldn't help enough, but like when I was teaching phys ed several times early on in my teaching career, I'd have the kids for like 30 minutes to 45 minutes, and I'd send them back to their homeroom teacher, and I just never felt that connection with kids like I had hoped that I would. I'd only have them for a little bit. And of course, they loved me. I talked about that in an earlier episode. They loved me. I was the gym teacher where they had all the fun. But it was really hard to build those relationships, to have a conversation with a kid every day and check in on them, where you're seeing them one time a week for, like I said, 30 to 45 minutes. And then you give them back to their teacher and you see them again in a week. Now you have them for a longer period of time, over the course of 5 years, but I was really hoping to get that day-to-day interaction with the kids, and that made it really hard, and it made me question what I was doing. Like, is this really what I want to do? And actually, ultimately, it led me to where I'm at now, and finding what I really enjoy in teaching is having my homeroom, my self-contained classroom.
Right. And for some people, it might be the opposite. Like, it might be nice for them to only have the kids for a certain amount of time and then be able to pass them along. But for you, who like gains energy from connecting with people, like that's your jam, that's what you needed. You needed to be able to have your own group of kids who ultimately become a family, to help kind of fuel your fire and your passion.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked with other physical education teachers over the course of the last 16 years of teaching. They're like, I love that. I love to have the kids for 30 minutes and send them back. If they're being a butthead or whatever, I can just send them back. But, and that brings us back to, it's all about perspective. What everybody wants and what people need, it's different. Like what you need is significantly different than what I need to feel like I'm accomplishing something in a school.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. My burnout came more from like feeling, and it's a term I talk about in my presentations, compassion fatigue. And it came out from like caring too much. I think you had said it before. You care too much and you feel like you're not making enough difference. And then you start to shoulder the burdens of the kids you work with. You start to feel that as your own. There's post-secondary stress and post-secondary trauma, that you feel like you work with kids who experience trauma, and then you start to take that on as your own, and ultimately it ends up becoming too much, to handle or to carry. And that's really where this work came out of. It's like I had to figure out a way out of it by talking to a counselor and by working on my own self and figuring out what I need to kind of defeat the burnout.
Sure. And I was supposed to ask you how you get burnout, so thanks for bringing that up. But like, how did that show itself? How did that manifest itself in your life outside of school, or did you just only feel it in school, at home?
It was everywhere. It was so I talked about how like I wanted to be a teacher forever, like an educator forever.
Right.
And I think educators can relate. You have like this fire, like this passion for helping, like you said. And I got to a point where that fire was no longer there. And I knew something was wrong. And it wasn't just at school, it was at home too. I didn't have the patience for Phil or the kids.
No patience for me.
Yeah, I mean, it got pretty bad. And it was just really uncomfortable, I think, for all of us, because we knew what I could be and how I could be empathetic toward others, and I could have patience, and there was none of that left. And I remember I took a day and I went to Lake Superior. I went to the beach and I literally Googled what I was feeling, like what was going on, and compassion fatigue came up.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's not what this episode comes up or is about, but I think it goes hand in hand, compassion fatigue and burnout. And those are the results that came up. And I texted you and said, this is what's wrong with me.
She's like, aha, I got it. I know what it is.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it helped to put a name to it. Like in elementary school, like when we talk about emotions, you have to name it to tame it, right? Like all right, what are you feeling? I'm feeling sad. All right, now we'll deal with that emotion.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same as adults. I felt off, but didn't know what it was.
Right. Yeah, and that was the first time I had heard of it also. And, however long ago that was, let's call it 5 years ago that you realized that, like, through your work, you've been talking about compassion fatigue quite a bit, because I think a lot of educators do feel that. And I think that contributes to a lot of burnout, because you see a lot of things, you feel a lot of things, and again, like I've talked about before, whether it's you see a high school kid driving away in the parking lot, or you send a kindergartner back on the bus, there's only so much you can do and so much control you have over that kid.
Right. And so I think like compassion fatigue can happen in anyone who goes into a career with the intent of helping others and doesn't feel like they're doing enough, or takes on too much of the people they're trying to help. And so I think what I was trying to tell that woman at the conference was, you felt that way because you were trying to help these people who were sick. It doesn't mean that us as educators don't feel that way because we're trying to help the students and families we work with. Compassion fatigue and burnout is compassion and fatigue and burnout wherever you are, whatever occupation you're in.
Yeah, no matter what walk of life, it doesn't matter. It's like telling somebody, no, you can't be sad over that. It's like, that's their decision to be sad.
Yeah, exactly.
Who the hell are you to tell them that they can't cry over that?
Right.
I've tried that. It doesn't work real well, especially with your wife. Why are you crying?
I think it took one time and you're like, oh yeah, I'll never do that again.
That's not something that we should be crying over. Yeah, it didn't work real well.
Yeah.
But again, and that's exactly it. Who am I to tell you what you can and can't cry over? Who is somebody else to say, oh yeah, this walk of life, you can't burn out of this. It's too easy. Like, who the hell are you to say that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Lady.
Phil got a little defensive when I told him that story.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're going to take a pause here. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. All right, so we're back. So let's just imagine, again, doesn't matter what profession I'm in, but since I'm a teacher, I am feeling burnout. How do I handle that? How do I deal with that? Like, what's the solution?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There's a lot of different options that you can do if you're feeling burnt out. I think obviously you have to do what works best for you. And we talked about feeling stressed, which is not the same thing as burnout. Like burnout, I feel, and like I know it's a little dramatic, but like you're feeling stressed, mind, body, and soul. Like it has completely taken over.
Like you don't want to do it anymore.
You don't want to do it anymore. You dread going every single day. Your fire is being extinguished.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think talking to a professional is super helpful. And I'm not just saying that because I'm one of those professionals, like anybody,
like a therapist, a
counselor. Yeah. I think talking through it with somebody is super helpful, because I think that a lot of educators feel guilt for feeling burned out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you go into the human profession or into the education profession to help humans, and then feeling like you don't want to do it anymore, you feel like you're letting all of those humans down.
Yeah. So you gotta remember why you got into it to give you that motivation to try to get some help, right? Because I feel like if you don't do that, if you don't remember why you're there and remember what you're doing, then I could be wrong here, but you might just be okay drifting out of education, or just like, maybe it's not for me because I'm feeling burnt out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And like the why, I think, is a super common and cheesy activity that people do in PDs. Like, what's your why? And then we all have to write down, like, who's the teacher we remember the most, who impacted it, right? Like,
right. Heard that, done it. Yeah.
Right. Like, okay, Mrs. Malmberg, my math teacher, I loved her. But I think it's deeper than that. I think it's, you have to remember your why, absolutely, and your purpose. And then ultimately, reflecting on the impact you have already made and remembering that. And then thinking about your future, right? And like, do you want to continue making an impact? Do you want to continue trying to help these people? And what kind of educator do you want to be? If you could, I did this activity last year. If a student wrote you a letter and you got that letter 20 years from now, what would you want them to say to you? Like you were an okay teacher, you taught math really well, but I feel like you didn't really care about me, or I felt like, you really loved me and you showed up for me.
Right.
And kind of reminding yourself, like you said, why you went into it, but
yeah, not the cheesy why, but like the real day-to-day, like what your intent of going into a classroom is. I mean, it's not necessarily teaching kids how to long divide. Like, let's be real.
Absolutely.
Like, that's not it. It's to make an impact on those kids some way, somehow.
Yep, absolutely. So I think a couple of other things that you can do maybe proactively, and that I started doing, is that if you ever get any kind of emails or notes from kids or parents of appreciation, to save those and put them in a spot where if you're feeling down or you're feeling like you want to leave and maybe you're not making an impact, you can read those again and remind yourself that I am. Maybe you're not getting thanked enough, right? And you're feeling underappreciated. I get that.
Sure.
But that can be a way to kind of reignite some of that passion that you felt like was going away.
Sure. Like you get a parent coming at you hard, give you some nasty email, some nasty gram. Might be a good idea to dig back into some of those positive emails that you've gotten from parents or from kids. Yeah, that's a good point. Mm-hmm. And don't remember anybody out there that appreciates somebody. Don't forget to send them a little note of appreciation, because when they are having a time that they're down, they might want to look back at it and remember the good things that they're doing, and how much people actually do care about the impact they're making.
It goes a long way.
It does. Mm-hmm. I appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Store that one.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
And we appreciate you guys tuning in and watching our 6th episode.
6th episode. More to come. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being a part of it.
Yep. Share us, like us, subscribe to us.
Yeah, smash the like button. I've wanted to say that.
That's good.
That's good. Smash it.
I like it. All right, you've got this.
And we've got you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.